for lack of a better word, to Iran or other.
Yeah, any rogue nation that hopes to be a nuclear nation that looking for nuclear technology and ballistic missile technology. This is as much about that as anything. I think Senator Graham, myself, and others disagreed with the Iranian nuclear deal because you allow, maybe not as quick, but you allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon at some point in time in the future. Iran already has the ability to hit Israel. Not with a nuclear warhead because they don't have that yet, but when they do, what does that mean? So I think you're right. I think he's right. It's all about sending the right signal, and I think we've got a president in the White House who understands we need the most capable and professional United States military as we can get. We need to make sure our military capability is there. We're still a superpower, but because of sequester and other things, our military might isn't what it should be or could be.
I don't want to just talk about the president because I'm glad you're here, but I did want to just run one thing by you. I thought of this yesterday. Senator Graham said that in his lifetime, President Trump is the most non-ideological president that he's experienced in terms of listening to all sides and sort of, do you agree with that? I thought that was an interesting observation.
Yeah, so ideologically, President Trump isn't, I'm a hardline conservative, and
you haven't always agreed with the president.
Right, but the president is not, he's a businessman, but he fully gets, I believe, he fully understands the role he plays as an executive, as the commander-in-chief in that role, or as an executive to try to run the business of the nation and move in the direction that he, as the leader of that business, thinks we ought to go. He empowers the people under him. I think you see that in the DOD. I think you see that within the agencies. He's had some hiccups as they have tried to assume this role of president of the executive branch and get the right team in place. But I think he approaches this job not from an ideological standpoint, but from a businessman standpoint.
I do want to ask you about healthcare. Obviously, you are a hardline conservative. Your bona fides are pretty clear on that. But you've not, you've come out sort of a little bit critical of the party in recent movements toward trying to do a repeal and reform, or repeal and replace Obamacare. The senator said yesterday that he wants to bring up a bill in September to basically port the Obamacare money to states in the form of block grants, and that he thinks that might be the path towards success. Is healthcare going to come back up again, or are we?
It should. I support a discharge petition right now in the House to bring back up the 2015 reconciliation bill, which was more of a repeal bill. If we were willing as Republicans to control the House and Senate at that point in time to send a bill to President Obama's desk, we should be willing to send that same bill to President Trump's desk. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. At the end of the day, we're looking at plans that have the ability also to pass Congress. And Lindsay talked about that plan yesterday at the Easley Chamber, and first I really heard some of the details. So we'll be glad to take a look at it, and if it's something we feel like is workable, look and see if we can help him on the House side. House conservatives have long said we like block grants to the states, give states more flexibility, give them the money, let them spend it in Medicaid and the ways they want. I think we have to address, and one thing the House has struggled with is the Medicaid expansion. So Obamacare allowed Medicaid expansion to a certain date, and we're wanting to end that Medicaid expansion. The left says we're kicking people off of Medicaid or off of Obamacare at that point. No, we're just ending it to future enrollees to Medicaid. Because these are able-bodied Americans that are working, they're just below a certain threshold, which is higher than the poverty index. So that's how they expanded it, right? South Carolina did not expand Medicaid, but some other states did. So now you're pitting one state against another, or multiple states that didn't expand, 17 or 19, against the states that did, or it could be the inverse of that. But you shouldn't have that in a United States of America. We shouldn't pit state against state like that for federal tax dollars.
And I think only about a handful of states are getting the majority of the money. New York, California, Florida, Maryland, a couple of states.
Right.
But four, yeah. Okay. We've talked about this before, though, too. Republicans have had a good 7 years to come up with a solid reform and repeal and replace for Obamacare. And here we are, still,
7 months into it.
And I think I've lost count of how many bills have been proposed or have come up. And I just wonder, is this costing your party political capital in the eyes of the American people?
It's probably costing more political capital within the Republican Party, not for people that might vote Democrat this time, maybe more people that might get primaried within the nation. Because you're right, we did have 7 years. But one of my criticism, look guys, we had plenty of time. In January, I would have brought up the 2015 bill. It's already a bill we sent to the president's desk and he vetoed it. Why aren't we willing to send that same bill to President Trump? And if you're not willing to send that same bill to President Trump, was it just political optics? And that's what people are saying. You voted all these times just to get reelected and say you voted to repeal Obamacare. I was willing to shut the government down to repeal Obamacare. That's how much I believe in that Obamacare is hurting our nation, small businesses, individuals, whatnot. So, I'm willing to pass something that we actually got through the House and the Senate and bring it up again and send it.
I mean, we're sitting here because you're in recess, which you oppose, but you're one vote of 450, I realize. So
435.
435, I'm sorry. Do you still feel like maybe the recesses should be more closely looked at moving forward because of the work that needs to be done with Obamacare and other
Well, I said that this year. I mean, congressional recess in the month of August is, 7 months into it of, it depends on the year on how busy January to the end of July are. But you can go back in history and all that. But it's historical a time for members of Congress to come back to their district after 7 months of working in D.C. and spend time listening to folks. What do you think about what we've done in the last 7 months? What could we do better? What should we do going forward? Knowing that our plate is full going through the end of September, right? So we've got a budget, government funding bill is coming up that because the government runs out of spending ability by the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. So we've got to fund the government by October 1st. We've got flood insurance reauthorization. We've got a debt ceiling increase because we've maxed out the credit card for the nation. So all that's coming up for those few short days we have in the month of September. And knowing all that, I was willing to say, look, let's get some stuff done and skip this August recess. Now, who is punished, so to speak? I don't know if that's the right word, but by doing that, it's not the congressman that's staying in Washington, although he's away from his family, he's away from his district and all that. But it's the people in the district that don't get to see their congressman, who don't get a chance to interact. It's reporters that don't get a chance to have face-to-face, pastors that don't get to have a chance to pray with their congressman. It's businesses that want to share what NAFTA does to them and the renegotiation and wants to make sure going into that their congressman's informed about how NAFTA renegotiation could affect them and their business. It's about speaking to Easley Chamber members or Greenwood Chamber members or whatnot and finding out, how's the business economy going? How are job creators doing? What does tax reform mean to you? What does Obamacare repeal and the failure of that mean to you and your business? So that interaction with constituents during that month on those things is vital to somebody that serves a constituency. So who's penalized in us staying in Washington? I think the districts are that need to hear from their congressman and have a chance for their congressman to hear from them.
Well, I know this is a working recess for you, so I don't want to give you two questions left, and they're kind of related. One has to do with, the news about the Santee Cooper nuclear plant here and the situation there.
About what now?
The Santee Cooper nuclear.
Yeah.
Question one and two. I'm wondering if you had if you wanted to comment on that too. If you had a chance to see this climate change report that I guess was leaked to the Washington Post and the New York Times, and how climate change might be affecting the United States. Do you want to weigh in on either of those?
Yeah, so what I'll say about what's going on down at Jenkinsville is it's a shame, because what this means going forward is you won't see another nuclear power plant built in the United States of America, because nobody's going to take the financial risk knowing that this type thing could happen 7 years into it, 8 years away, however many years it's been, before the completion of the project, that the rug gets pulled out from under it. Nobody's going to make that kind of investment. And that's a shame, because I believe in nuclear power, providing that 24/7, always-on baseload power that we need. That's probably the most disappointing. How it affects ratepayers and what the state of South Carolina may or may not do, that's up to the General Assembly. I will say that we support nuclear power, and we tried in Congress, at least in the House, to get a nuclear production tax credit to allow depreciation expense for nuclear production as part of a tax extender. We got that done in the House this year to help nuclear power in this country, not necessarily just Jenkinsville, but over in Georgia and future power plants as well. So I think in the bigger picture with what went on down there is what's been revealed is the projected, what they said the expenses were going to be for that plant, and what they discovered the projected expenses were going to be that weren't talked about, they're off balance sheet or whatever, what are about 3 times as much, and that needs to be looked at. If you tell me you're going to build my house, and you tell me it's going to be this price, and you come in as 3 times that, something's wrong. Either you lied to me on the front end, or you didn't keep me informed all the way through the process on building supplies and labor and all that cost have gone up. I need to be prepared for that. So we need to look at how those things are priced and what the drivers were for the expenses and why things got so far out of whack. And I think the second side of that is Westinghouse. You know, what attributed to their bankruptcy?
Right.
You know, what were they doing right or wrong? And in that instance, so there's a lot of lessons to be learned. But at the end of the day, the biggest disappointment is the fact that nuclear power, new nuclear power plants will be mothballed at this point. And we're seeing nuclear power plants come offline because they're aging, and we need to replace that energy with something. And I can tell you the wind and solar are going to provide the kind of power, the number of megawatts that nuclear energy provides.
What about the climate change report?
So I haven't seen the report you're talking about, and here's what I'll say about climate change, is that I believe the climate's changing. I've always said that. I just disagree with the whole man-made portion of that. What we've seen with reports, we've seen one report 1 month or 1 year that says this, and we see another report that says this, and nothing is consistent. We see skewing of data to propagate a certain position, and then we see the facts. Well, we heard Al Gore say that the temperature of the Earth was going to go up by 2016, and the temperature today is 59.1 degrees Celsius average global temperature, and 10, 15 years ago it was 59.1 degrees average global temperature. So I read all climate data with a little bit of skepticism because of what I've seen in the peaks and valleys on all this. Of here's a report, well, here's the truth. Here's a report, here's the truth. You know, I really want to know what the facts are.
Was the president right to pull us out of the Paris Accord?
I think that was a great move for his part, because we're the only country in the Kyoto Agreement, even though we weren't a signatory to it, that actually complied with it and hit some of the targets. And the rest of the country that actually signed, the rest of the world rather, that actually signed the Kyoto Agreement did hit their targets, right? America has actually gotten better because we're good stewards and we try, and conservation, turn lights off, whatever you want to. And so it's not about the Paris Agreement. That's more of a redistribution mindset of forcing wealthy countries to redistribute money, if you really look at it, than it is about hitting the attainment goals. Because you look at Kyoto and compare the two, America hit the Kyoto attainment goals more so than the rest of the countries actually were signatories to it. So,
You run for re-election?
I'm running for re-election, yeah. We're going to shift to politics, or the political side of it. Yeah, I'm running for re-election.
I was going to ask that one, but
But filing hadn't begun yet.
that's
so,
the worst kept secret in Washington, right? Or in the district, right? That you're running the.
Yeah, I mean, so right now I've been focusing on doing the job. You know, I was just sworn in January the 10th. Was that the date? So from January to now, I've been actually working. So yeah.
And I saw something on CNN last night that I thought was kind of interesting. But they're saying that Democrats are going to start trying to target Republicans who don't hold town halls. What do you think about that?
They're going to start doing what?
They're going to start targeting districts where the incumbents don't have town hall meetings.
So I've been in Congress for 7 years, 6 years, 7 months. I think as far as the town hall mindset, if you look at how many town halls I've actually done in the true town hall, that was probably in 2011, maybe a few. I haven't done traditional town halls. We communicate a lot of different ways. I hadn't even had anybody ask me to do a town hall until Hillary Clinton lost. Nobody asked me to do a town hall until January. When we got back into Congress in January, the Indivisible Playbook came out, right? And you started seeing people holler at me on Twitter and Facebook, when are you going to do a town hall, Congressman? Well, where have you been for 6 years? Because nobody begged me to do a town hall. They were pretty pleased, either pleased with how I was communicating with the constituents or didn't care. And all of a sudden, they want me to do a town hall. So is this more about the way Jeff Duncan communicates with his constituents and informing them, or is it more about them wanting to stand there and holler at me because they disagree with me? I've been very, very